Welcome! My name is Steve Gale. I'm a traveler, artist, and castle ruins enthusiast. Since 2008, my wife Ann and I have visited over 50 castles in various states of ruin, often spending hours exploring their murky depths and dark passages.
The castle that kicked this all off for me is located in central Romania, in a district known as Transylvania. I was on a Dracula tour on a bus when we passed a castle that immediately grabbed everyone's attention as we sped by. You can see from this image a beaten path through the field leading to its walls, and a door. This path led to a way through the walls into the castle grounds. So if you could get there and park, you could enter the thing and explore till the sun goes down. This inspired me to start visiting castles, from those accessible for a small fee to others hidden away and completely forgotten. The Dracula tour visited 2 of the 3 castles the Impaler called home. Then, years later, I discovered the original castle occupied by the influential German family Frankenstein, and a pattern began to emerge as I encountered more and more places associated with the universal monsters I grew up with.
The majority of these classical horror stories have literary roots and real-world locations that inspired them. I don't want to give away all the spooky goodness my full presentation has to offer, so, just to whet your appetite for blood, I give you Strange Tales in Stone, the abridged version.
When possible, the full presentation is accompanied by an associated exhibit displaying my drawings of ruined stone sites and classic monster portraits in watercolor. These works are also incorporated as a backdrop. Mostly, the segments connect the supernatural character with a historically relevant site, but the character we start with has more to offer. Dracula has several sites of historical importance, but also one site that provided literary inspiration. My full presentation has many strange tales of Dracula, including Bram Stoker's nightmarish experience as a child that may have spawned the foundation for his story, the real castles of Dracula, and the possibility that the actual Dracula may have met an actual Frankenstein on the field of battle, a real-world Dracula versus Frankenstein. Until then, I offer you a taste. After fully drafting this tale of vampiric seduction, Bram Stoker needed to add some authenticity. After all, it began in Transylvania, a place he had never seen. So he hit the library and discovered Vlad III, aka Vlad the Impaler or Vlad Dracula. He discovered the name Dracul, translated to the dragon, in this case a reference to the devil. The A on the end changed the meaning to son of, thus Dracula meant son of the devil. Further researching Vlad, Bram discovered the name was well-earned and his story's protagonist was changed to horror's most well-known name, Dracula. 3 castles in Romania are associated with Vlad Dracul, the most well-known being the least worthy. When Castle Bran was made available for sale, Disney reportedly had some business interests. Though it appears that never came to pass, I believe it is Disney's brief influence that has resulted in Bran being so often referred to as the real Castle Dracula. But spending 6 months there as a prisoner is the Impaler's only tie to the castle. A passage in the book is said to describe Bran so well that some speculate it provided Stoker with a visual image for Castle Dracula. No proof of this interpretation exists, and honestly the description could fit many such sites. One can easily imagine observing Bran as highly inspirational to the author, but Stoker never visited Transylvania, thus never beheld it. Alternatively, the Paneri Citadel, just south of Transylvania, did serve as a residence for Vlad and was the site of his last stand against the Ottoman Empire. This ruin lies atop a 480-step climb. From the castle, you can observe the valley below and the Argus River, where his wife threw herself to avoid the consequences of capture by her husband's arch-enemy. This drawing is from a crumbled Paneri Tower and was the focus of an episode of Ghost Hunters. As far as the literary inspiration for the evil Count's digs, I submit the remains of Whitby Abbey along Britain's northeast coast. A commemorative bench overlooking the ruin marks the spot where Stoker was sitting when the story came to him. Whitby itself plays a big part as the location where the Count's ship of death ran aground, the ruined abbey he purchased as an English residence, and the sanatorium of Dr. Stewart. I found the abbey and surrounding graveyard to have a creepy, menacing vibe, despite being holy ground. Another site in Europe that has direct ties to universal horror is the ruin of Burg Frankenstein in western Germany. Mary Shelley took a poorly documented trip through this area, at one point being just a few miles from Burg Frankenstein, 3 years before publishing her groundbreaking novel. One 17th century historical character even has sufficient background to be considered a potential model for the obsessed Victor Frankenstein. This drawing depicts the castle from the approach up the mountain from Malchen to the south. Most visitors arrive by car, thus never see the castle from this vantage point, whose layers of walls made it my favorite view. My last day in Malchen started with a pre-dawn hike up the hillside, approaching Frankenstein through the woods in the dark during a full moon. My reward was witnessing the momentary effect of the dawn sun on this magnificent structure, resulting in one of my most successful paintings to date. Though The Wolfman never existed as a novel, only a screenplay, several clues from the movie and its sequel, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, liken it to Margam Castle and its abbey remains as the story's epicenter. The connections here are all speculative, but very plausible. The structure, though called Margam Castle, is by my reckoning more of a great stone mansion, as it is not suited for withstanding battle as a castle stronghold must be. On its beautiful grounds in Wales lay the broken remains of an abbey, centuries older than the great house. Surrounded by the creepy-looking trees of the Welsh moors, this abbey made a perfect subject to be included into my Strange Tales collection. A far less speculative site is the former workshop of William Brodie, now an Edinburgh cafe. The Deacon's Cafe, exterior presented here in pencil, proudly presents the history of the building and of Mr. Brodie, whose shockingly duplicitous lifestyle served as a model for one of Robert Louis Stevenson's most wicked characters. Ultimately hung on a gallows of his own making, William Brodie's tale is a strange one indeed, and for fans of classic horror, this Scottish site is just what the doctor ordered. Paris boasts the origin of two universal characters, the first being the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Though not a monster, I'm sure his name rings a bell. Victor Hugo's French Revolution tale of the tragic character Quasimodo provided a Gothic element that easily migrated into the horror genre. One could speculate that Quasimodo was the original Gothic hunchback on which a generation of mad Dr. Toadies were based. Equally as tragic as the hunchback's heartbreaking drama is the fire that so damaged the Notre Dame Cathedral in 2019. I was fortunate enough to have visited some 6 months earlier to obtain imagery for this drawing. No collection of stone relics is complete without a gargoyle. Lastly is the home of this most famous maker of musical mayhem. To produce the story of the Phantom, Gaston Leroux drew as much from newspaper headlines as he did from his imagination, an amazing number of elements from this tale being taken from real-life events. Though it is not possible for a tourist to venture below the magnificent Paris Opera House and behold its lake, the waterway navigated by the Phantom is nonetheless there, if less ornate. Built on a swamp, a foundation of archways bear the weight of this enormous building, the watery network the result of a high water table.
All of these horror connections have far more elaborate accountings involving travel, art, history, and classic horror. I hope someday you'll have the opportunity to see my full presentation. But until then, stay happy, healthy. If you go to the opera, remember, wear a mask and always look out for falling chandeliers. Yeah.